Robert Kennedy Jr. was a heroin addict in high school, college, and law school and beyond. He did not have one day of his life as a serious student. I was in one class with him in college, in a small classroom where, when he showed up, it was obvious that he wasn't really present.
Yes, Lawrence O'Donnell. He's the communist, right? The socialist, proud socialist. At MSDNC last night, attacking Robert F. Kennedy Jr., a lifelong Democrat and a member of the lifelong Democrat Kennedy family. And Lawrence O'Donnell, he went to school with him, and he was a heroin addict. I thought that was a good thing for Democrats, to be heroin addicts and fentanyl addicts and all of that good stuff. Well, a very good and happy Friday to you. RFK Jr. on Capitol Hill yesterday talking about vaccines and myocarditis and Democrats really don't want to hear any of this. He wants to look into the effects of vaccines and vaccinations on children, on adults, and the Democrats want to pound the table and spit. Like in the NFL game last night, the Philadelphia Eagles. The Democrats were that mad. I'm thinking the spitting Philadelphia Eagles, a Democrat too, spat in the face of the Dallas Cowboys quarterback. Very ghetto, very ghetto. And the Democrats, I think they're good with that too. They love murder. Certainly, they're going to love spitting in faces. They do a lot of that. Throwing Subway sandwiches, there will be no indictment for that, no charges for that. Democrats are in charge. They love crime. They love assault on federal law enforcement agents. They love all the bad things in life and in the world, and they're here to bring more of them. They're not here to bring good things to life. Who was that? Was that General Electric? We bring good things to life. That was an old ad. That was good. It was a good one, too. We've got a number of stories for you that I want to share. First of all, Sydney Sweeney. She's an actress, and then she did that American Eagle ad with the jeans. Well, how's that working out for American Eagle? Turns out it's working out pretty well for American Eagle. I've got my 88-year-old non-voting delegate to the House of Representatives, Eleanor Holmes Norton. She's announced that she's running for re-election again now at the age of 88. She's going to run for re-election again, and she went to the podium, and people had to come and help her walk away from the podium because she can't walk. But she's going to run for Congress again, and when you're a Democrat, that's okay. I've got that coming up. Remarkable stuff. And I did mention the NFL. Jalen Carter ejected from the game last night, the big Thursday night game, a big official season opener and all that stuff, for spitting on Dak Prescott before the first snap, before the game, before the first play had been played, and he's kicked out of the game. Should probably be kicked out of the NFL forever, at least for the season. Take away whatever he makes in a week. Dock him that, because that's just filthy third world gutter ghetto stuff that has no place in the NFL. But you know how the Democrats are. So you got that. Also, I've got, here's a great one. The International Business Times, IB Times, they've got the headline, and I've also got it from the source. But Department of Justice officer caught on camera saying that they, at the Department of Justice, will remove all Republican names from the Epstein list, but leave the Democrat names in. That's what he said. He said it on camera. But there's a little bit of a hiccup here, a little bit of a trick, an asterisk, if you will. And I have the asterisk for you, even though the corrupt, filthy Democrat news media will never tell the truth about anything, ever. And they really should have their government building passes canceled when they prove to be propaganda outlets for the Democrat Party. Amazing stuff. Yeah, and hidden camera catches DOJ aide lured by dating app. Got to look out for those dating apps, don't you? We've got the New York City mayoral race, a lot going on there, and RFK, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., being grilled on Capitol Hill. Tumultuous performance. The Democrats are going wild. They're anti-science. They don't know how many genders there are. They don't know what a woman is. That includes a Democrat member of the Supreme Court of the United States. So we've got that going on. And also I want to update you on Chicago because President Trump is talking about sending in federal law enforcement to Chicago where the murder rate is, well, they're number one. I'm holding up my right index finger. They're number one. And apparently they're proud of it, the Democrats are. And if you want to start enforcing the law and arresting criminals, then the Democrats will get in your way. They will obstruct every effort, any effort at fighting crime. The Democrat Party is pro-crime. The Democrat Party is pro-murder. So we have that going on. And that's kind of important stuff, I think. Relevant things, serious things. But the Democrats, they're not on the side of civilization anymore. And I want to get to the, and they're pro-Venezuela. They're pro-drug traffickers. They're pro-Tren de Aragua. They're pro-MS-13. They're pro-open borders and illegal alien gang members. They're pro-crime and pro-murder, but they're anti-law enforcement, defund the police, abolish ICE. This is members of Congress, Democrat members of Congress. So we've got that going on, too. A lot of things to get to now. Let's go, Michael, to some of the audio that we have of RFK Jr. on Capitol Hill yesterday, where a lot was discussed, including myocarditis, and that negatively affects your heart, enlarges your heart. Is that caused by, let's say, the COVID-19 vaccine, by mRNA vaccines that have not been very, very thoroughly studied over a long period of time? But the Democrats, they want to scream at you and pound the table and throw things and say, we need more vaccines for babies that never get sick with anything. We need more vaccines for old people that Andrew Cuomo would put in a retirement home during COVID and thousands died, and it's fine. He's genocidal, but never mind that. And the news media, they're all over RFK Jr. because he was a lifelong Democrat, member of the Kennedy family. And as Lawrence O'Donnell said, he did have a drug problem when he was a younger man. Now he's 71 or 72 years old, and he's Mr. Physical Fitness. And Democrats say, oh, he's pumped up on steroids. And well, do you have any evidence he's pumped up on steroids? And they say, look at him. And that's it, because they just smear and slander everyone. They don't need evidence. They make stuff up in their demented little brains, and then they believe them because they just thought of a sentence. He's pumped up on steroids. And they say, of course he is, because I just said he is. Well, that's good enough for them. Now, headlines from Robert F. Kennedy Jr. on Capitol Hill yesterday, a Senate hearing. How RFK Jr.'s misguided science on mRNA vaccines is shaping policy. And this is a headline. A vaccine expert examines the false claims. Well, and there will be no debate about science. Science has been settled. The Democrat Party says so. But again, these are the people that can't tell you how many genders there are. A Supreme Court Justice, Ketanji Brown Jackson, can't tell you what a woman is. She's a woman. Never mind that. But back to RFK Jr. Democrats are anti-science and pro-crime. Anti-police, anti-National Guard, pro-drug smuggling cartels. Pro-transgender mass murderers. They should be able to buy guns. Trannies should be able to buy guns. Never mind the mental illness. That's what makes them specially qualified to own guns, according to the Democrats. They don't want anybody to own guns except people with mental illnesses. Politico headline, what RFK Jr. got wrong about vaccines during Senate hearing. The health secretary's statements came amid heated exchanges with some senators. Yeah, I think we know who those senators are. They're crazy Democrats like Bernie the Bolshevik and the gang. Under sharp questioning from Democrats and some Republicans, it says, this is the Politico, under sharp questioning from Democrats, and some Republicans, at a Senate Finance Committee hearing Thursday. Why is it the Finance Committee when we're talking about health? Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. doubled down on his long-held beliefs about vaccine science and drug industry influence over federal regulators. Many of his statements came during tense exchanges with senators over his view of vaccines as he defended his leadership of the Department of Health and Human Services. He had to defend his because the Democrats are attacking and firebombing Good thing he's not Jewish. They'd firebomb his house. And the turmoil that has ensued after he fired the director of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, and they become very riled up at Politico. COVID vaccine access. He doesn't want to restrict access at all. He wants a well-informed public. But the news media will lie about that. Vaccine and death data points. And they want to argue because he pointed out something that the federal government, he explained yesterday, and I'm not even sure if we pulled this one, but he explained yesterday that the federal government, CDC, doesn't actually know how many Americans died by way of COVID-19. You may recall I pointed these things out before. There was a woman coroner in Colorado, who pointed out that they had scored 2 men as COVID-19 deaths when they had been shot to death. They had been shot to death. I believe it was a drug deal gone wrong, as opposed to a drug deal gone right, but the drug deal gone wrong, 2 men shot and killed, and they were declared to be COVID-19 deaths because during the autopsies, it was discovered that they tested positive for COVID-19. Now, they had been shot and killed with guns, firearms. It was the little bullets. It wasn't really the guns that killed them. It was the little bullets. And they had been shot and killed, these 2 men, and they scored their deaths as COVID-19 deaths, as the cause of death. And then the coroner, a woman who was honest, came out publicly and said, this is ridiculous. These deaths are being scored as COVID deaths because post-mortem they tested positive for COVID-19. But the cause of death was the gunshot wounds and the little bullets. That's the thing about that. So they lie about a lot, and we get lied to a lot. We, the American people, are lied to a lot by our government and certainly by the news media, as we still call them. And also a great controversy over Operation Warp Speed. They have to blame Trump for it. Hey, wait a minute. We had vaccines produced very quickly when a new virus came along that was killing people. And the official numbers say that we had more than 1 million Americans that died of COVID-19, more than 1 million, more than 7 million human beings, souls on board around the planet Earth as we catapult through space, more than 7 million human beings. And all the deaths can be traced back to the Wuhan Institute of Virology in Wuhan, Communist China, which got funding from the U.S. taxpayers thanks to Dr. Anthony Fauci, who's the hero of the Democrat Party. All right, now let's get to some audio from the hearing yesterday. Let's go to soundbite number 1. What do you think? Should we start at number 1? Let's go there. RFK Jr. in the Senate hearing, Finance Committee. Nobody can explain why. And he's got a lot to say, and his voice has this raspy thing. I don't know if it has anything to do with the fact that he was addicted to heroin when he was younger, but you know how Democrats are. And, it was like that was a point in his favor until he went to work in the Trump administration, that he had been a heroin addict, right? He's not anymore, as far as we know. RFK Jr. in the Senate hearing yesterday.
Americans have lost faith in CDC, and we need to restore that faith. And we're going to do that by telling the truth and not through propaganda, by making them understand that everything that we say is true, that we're going to tell them what we know, we're going to tell them what we don't know, and we're going to tell them what we're researching and how we're doing it, and we're going to be transparent.
That is nuts. That would ruin the whole government project. You start telling the truth and being reliable and trustworthy and giving us the known knowns, the known unknowns, and the unknown unknowns. Hey, wait a minute. I'm quoting Donald Rumsfeld there. Isn't that great? Wonderful, wonderful. So that's what he said. We're going to restore faith in the CDC. And there are actual polls and things that show that, we've lost faith in the government and we don't believe that we're being told the truth, and with very good reason, I've got to say. And I've got more RFK and crazy Democrats and media, but I repeat myself, coming up. But first, I want to talk to you about living a better digital life with Al Gore's amazing internet and your fancy smartphone and your laptop. I got my iPad right here with one of our newest partners, WebRoot. I chose WebRoot because of the Total Protection Plan. WebRoot's all-in-one package offers plan options for individuals, allowing for coverage of up to 5 devices for just you, up to 10 devices with the family package, and they've got you covered no matter what. WebRoot's coverage, They include antivirus protection and identity theft protection, VPN backup, and a whole lot more. And you've got the kids on the iPad and the smartphones, and you got your grandmother above the garage with the laptop. They've got you covered no matter what. Your entire family is protected, whether you're a 2-year-old or a 90-year-old. WebRoot has you covered. WebRoot allows for my best girl and I to live a better digital life, and that's why I want to recommend that you do the same. Also, right now, because we hang out together, you're going to get 50% off of WebRoot's Total Protection Plan or WebRoot's Essentials Plan when you go to webroot.com/plant. Again, 50% off, half off WebRoot's Total Protection, WebRoot's Essentials Plan when you go to webroot.com/plant. Yes, sir. Oh, yeah, it got lively yesterday in the hearing. And RFK Jr., I may not be his biggest fan, but I'll listen to him. I'll give him the respect that he deserves. He should be paid attention to. But now the Democrats just want to assassinate him. All right, I want to get back, and I'll tell you, one of the great moments was how many people in the United States died of COVID-19. Fun moment yesterday. RFK Jr. and angry Democrats wanting to firebomb the Jews and everything. All right, let's go to the phones. Let's go to Jim, calling from Ponte Verde, Florida. Jimmy, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hello, Chris.
Hey, Jim.
So anyway, about the death and disease that the Democrats wish to force upon us, if you remember, in Montgomery County, that was where the first case of tuberculosis showed up because an illegal alien brought it across from Mexico. Then, with all the other illegals that have been coming across under the Biden administration, over 11 million, none of them has been vaccinated. So why are the Democrats so hell-bent on vaccinating Americans but not the illegals who were then shipped all throughout the United States?
And what was it? You're absolutely right in everything that you say. And yeah, Montgomery County did have an emergence of tuberculosis, and I believe it was traced back to an illegal alien. And what did they come up with in New York that they found in the wastewater? They had a horrible dread disease that had been eradicated years ago that they found. I don't think it was the plague, but it might have been because Democrats, it's true. So you're saying, Jim, that the Democrat Party also the party of spreading disease?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because why else would they want to invite so many people who have been unvaccinated and then in the middle of the night move them throughout the United States on airplanes?
Untested, they weren't swabbed, they weren't tested, they weren't vaccinated, and they were distributed throughout the country. All right, let's get back to RFK, the junior. The senior was shot in the head in Los Angeles, California in 1968 and killed by Sirhan Sirhan, who is still in prison in California, although he has been granted parole. He's still awaiting release. The parole board said he's good to go. But that's not important now. Let's go to soundbite number 7. This is Democrat Senator Mark Warner from Virginia, and he thought he had a real gotcha for Robert F. Kennedy Jr. How many Americans died from COVID-19? You know, just here in the United States, not counting in China, Americans in China. And the answer was very interesting. And I was actually watching at this moment, and I thought, oh, here we go. And sure enough, here we go. Democrat Senator, isn't he super rich too? Mark Warner, I think he's hundreds of millions of dollars, and he bought a place in the Senate. And the official numbers say that more than 7 million people were killed worldwide by the Wuhan Red Death out of Wuhan, Red China, and that more than 1 million Americans died of the Wuhan Red Death. But as I pointed out, you know, they were rewarding hospitals cash money if they had somebody die of COVID there. And so, a great story, I should look it up, out of Colorado, when 2 men were shot to death And post-mortem, during the autopsy, it was discovered that they also were carrying the COVID-19 virus. So their deaths were scored officially as COVID-19 deaths, even though everybody knew that they had been shot to death. And the coroner came out and called their bluff on it. So it was great. And the numbers were rigged in lots of ways, kind of like Chicago crime numbers in Chicago and Washington, D.C. Crime numbers, where we know the police have tampered because the Democrats wanted it that way, tampered with the crime numbers. Here is Democrat Senator Mark Warner and lifelong Democrat Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
Do you accept the fact that 1 million Americans died from COVID?
Accept the fact.
I don't know how many died.
You're the Secretary of Health and Human Services. You don't have any idea how many Americans died from COVID?
I don't think anybody knows that because there was so much data chaos coming out of the CDC, and there was so many perverse incentives. These are model
You don't know the answer of how many Americans died from COVID. This is the Secretary of Health and Human Services.
This is, see, gotcha. And all the left-wing media, they're going to town on this one. Panhandler Broadcasting System, Democrat Party front group, taxpayer-funded, suckling on the taxpayer teat, examining RFK Jr.'s claims about vaccines, COVID-19, and the health of Americans. And they just go on, going after him because he's not a Democrat in good standing anymore with the Democrat Party. And USA Today, RFK Jr. says he doesn't know how many Americans died from COVID-19 as he's grilled at hearing. And Mark Warner, they go in knowing what he's said about these things in the past, and they assume that they've got a gotcha going here. And so you may have noticed that RFK was not allowed to speak, not allowed to explain himself. It's a shout down, a talk over. And who was it? Dana Perino, former White House press secretary, now at Fox News, said yesterday that she watched the hearing to the point where she had to turn it off and said, I'm never going to watch one of these again. She's a former Republican Hill staffer, White House press secretary. And after watching this hearing, she said she'd be inclined to never not watch another one. Mark Warner and RFK Jr.
Do you think the vaccine did anything to prevent additional deaths?
Again, I would like to see the data and talk about the data.
You have had this job for 8 months, and you don't know the data about whether the vaccine saved
and
lives?
That's the problem, is that they didn't have the data. The data by the Biden administration absolutely dismal.
Well, wait a minute. The data from the Biden administration is absolutely dismal, and it's not useful. And he doesn't know how many Americans. And the reason is, and he's trying to explain, that he doesn't believe the government data. When the government data says that more than 1 million Americans died from COVID because of COVID, not just with COVID, which is a different one of the things we learned in real time. Senator Warner doesn't follow the news. One of the things we learned in real time during the Wuhan Red Death, as it caused such chaos in the United States, mayhem even, like in Chicago, if you start enforcing the law, that's coming up, we were learning in real time that they were scoring deaths as COVID deaths when people died with COVID rather than of COVID or from COVID, right? Because there was money in it, because the government found a way to incentivize hospitals to claim that, and government and private, that people were dying of COVID there. Now, Senator Warner, he doesn't follow the news. He doesn't know what happened.
Who is politicizing? You're saying the Biden administration politicized all the data? Go back to what Senator Cantwell just said.
Fired Dr.
Go to the Trump Surgeon General.
They fired Dr. Krauss. They fired all the people who questioned the orthodoxy. They fired Dr. Gruber, Dr. Krauss.
So, Mr. Chairman, the Secretary of Health and Human Services doesn't know how many Americans died from COVID. Doesn't know if the vaccine helped prevent any deaths. And you are sitting as Secretary of Health and Human Services? How can you be that ignorant?
He is attempting to raise questions about the conventional wisdom having to do with what Senator Warner claims is more than 1 million American deaths and a massive multi-billion, cent-a-billion-dollar effort under the Wuhan Red Death. I think I'd ask him, do you believe that COVID-19 came from the Wuhan Institute of Virology in Wuhan, China, and watch him fumble around and stumble around and not answer the question. But RFK Jr., and again, he's not the second coming or anything, but he's raising questions, and he's a lifelong Democrat and all Harvard educated for generations and all that. But he has questions that he believes need to be answered, and he is a cabinet secretary, Health and Human Services, and he wants these questions raised. He wants the questions answered. And the Democrat Party is there to shout you down. Now, again, it's not like they're the party of science when they can't tell you how many genders there are. And in San Francisco, there are 122 genders or something like that qualify for free cash from other people. Isn't it amazing? And he's a skeptic. He's skeptical. And you know what science is about? Science is about asking questions and not accepting whatever the orthodoxy is that is issued to you by the government. And he's attempting to raise questions, and they just want to shout him down. He's not convinced. He doesn't believe, and I know he's called a skeptic and a vaccine skeptic, but he talked about this yesterday, too. So I'm not denying anybody vaccines. I just don't think they should be mandatory, and you should be allowed to choose, and you should be well-informed. And we should help the public to be well-informed and not to contribute to a brainwashing perpetrated by people like Senator Warner, who take lots of money, doubtless, from pharmaceutical companies and the so-called big pharma industry and all that. And then who came along? Pocahontas came along. Hey, Pocahontas, what do you say? Just got back from the audit of Faye. And here's RFK Jr. with Elizabeth Pocahontas, not a Cherokee Indian, although she was promoted at Harvard again and again and again because she claimed that she was a Cherokee Indian. She looks like the most Anglo person you've ever seen in your life. But never mind that. RFK and Pocahontas Elizabeth Warren.
You just changed the classification of the COVID vaccine.
I'm not taking them away from people, Senator.
It takes it away if you can't get it from your pharmacist.
Well, most Americans are going to be able to get it from their pharmacy for free. Most Americans will be able to get it from their pharmacy for free.
The question is, everyone who wants it, that was your promise.
No, I didn't. I never promised that I was going to recommend products with which there is no indication.
When you said...
And I know you've taken $855,000 from pharmaceutical companies, Senator.
And I know you've taken $855,000 from pharmaceutical companies, Senator, and listen to her angry... She gives the Cherokee Nation a bad name, doesn't she? She's really something. She's a piece of work. Not the brightest bulb, that's for sure. So she yelled, and then he pointed out that she's taken almost $1 million from pharmaceutical companies, and here she is defending the pharmaceutical companies. She wants everything to be mandatory because liberals don't care what you do as long as it's mandatory. And they like to mandate things. And then the pharmaceutical companies make out like bandits, and then they give more money to Elizabeth Warren, and she can buy more power in Washington. These are corrupt people. Speaking of corrupt people, there's Bernie the Bolshevik. He actually participated in the 1917 Bolshevik Revolution in St. Petersburg. He didn't really, but he feels bad that he missed it. Bernie Sanders, he's a multi-millionaire, and he takes lots of money from pharmaceutical companies, too. And he is betraying the Democrat Party going after a Kennedy like this.
Just for the record, every single Republican, I don't mean to be political here, Mr. Chairman, has received PAC money from the pharmaceutical industry. Are they all corrupt as well?
And I'm telling you, the American Heart Association has been co-opted by the food
Everybody but you, Senator. But you know what? When you ran for president, we have a corrupt campaign finance system. Maybe you will agree with me on that. Okay, you were already president. You got $1 billion behind it. You received $300,000 from people, not from the industry, people in it, as I did, from individuals. You corrupt. President Trump got $3 million. Every Republican got corporate PAC money for the pharmaceutical industry. Democrats as well. Everybody is corrupt. But you? Is that what we're looking at? I don't think so. And I think the issue now...
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Well, I think you do know what I'm talking about.
Nobody knows what you're talking about because you're spitting food all over the place and your teeth are flying across the room and you're very severely mentally impaired. RFK ran for president junior as a Democrat in 2024. He later switched to independent, but he's a Democrat because he's a Democrat. And isn't that amazing? And Bernie and RFK, those darn pharmaceutical companies.
Are you saying the pharmaceutical industry was supporting my presidential campaign?
I'm saying,
I don't think so.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that the pharmaceutical industry is a greedy institution which is charging us the highest prices in the world. They are pervasive. But to suggest that every institution, the AMA, the pediatrics people, is corrupt because they disagree with you is an insult to the American people.
Listen, people disagree with me all the time.
Yeah, that seems plain to see, I suppose. You know, half his family has rejected him. The other half of his family has not rejected him. But half his family, they're such frothy political lunatics. And a lot of them might be drug addicts, too, because he used to be a drug addict, right? And then Senator Maggie Hassan. And, oh, no, the vaccines. Oh, this is good stuff, too.
Scientists who wanted to understand why the FDA, why you unilaterally changed the parameters for giving vaccines, making it possible now, to Senator Cassidy's colleagues' points, that they're going to have to go off-label.
This is crazy talk. You're just making stuff up.
To prescribe a vaccine for children. I'm not making things up.
I'm not making stuff up. She's not making anything up. She's just, towing the Democrat Party line. That's not a problem. And they're yelling New Hampshire senator there, and RFK. He was kind of flabbergasted by the whole experience.
You're just making stuff up, Senator.
I'm not.
You're just making stuff up.
Sometimes when you make an accusation, it's kind of a confession, Mr. Kennedy.
That doesn't make any sense at all. When you make an accusation, it's accusing him of using the Russian playbook that the Democrats use all the time. And isn't that amazing? President Trump was asked yesterday at the White House, hey, did you catch any of the RFK hearing today? Your Secretary of Department of Health and Human Services?
Do you have full confidence in what RFK Jr. is doing?
Well, I didn't get to watch the hearings today, but he's a very good person. And he means very well, and he's got some little different ideas. I guarantee a lot of the people at this table like RFK Jr., and I do. But he's got a different take, and we want to listen to all of those takes. But I heard he did very well today.
Yeah, I've got more RFK coming up for you as well. And he's talking about the general health of the American people and some statistics that ought to be alarming. And if we do have a health service in the United States and we got the Department of Health and Human Services, he's the secretary there, there are questions that should be raised about vaccines and the practices we've adopted regarding vaccinations for children and for elderly people as well, in particular, and about the state of our health and autism in the United States and the numbers of autism and what do they call them, chronic illnesses that the American people have compared to other countries. These are legitimate questions that he's raising, and the Democrats just shout him down. Shout him down. They're anti-science, and they don't know how many genders there are. You know that the all-new third-generation Eden Pure Thunderstorm air purifier is finally here. And the third generation builds on the incredible success of the previous generations, and those earned thousands of five-star reviews on Al Gore's amazing internet. Bestseller in no time at all. The new Eden Pure Thunderstorm uses two technologies that studies have demonstrated help to kill up to 99.9% of bacteria and viruses floating in the air that you breathe. It also removes dust and pet dander and smoke and a whole lot more from the air, and it gets rid of any odor. This is key. Any smelly odor. The Thunderstorm will help get rid of any stinky smell. Odors from trash cans, cigarette smoke, kitty litter boxes, liberals in your house, musty basements, no match for the Eden Pure Thunderstorm. And the smells will disappear in a matter of seconds. Right now, because we hang out together, you can save $200 American when you get an Eden Pure Thunderstorm 3-pack for whole home protection. Put one in your basement, your teenager's room, the kitchen, any place you like to breathe clean, fresh air. Give one as a gift. All you have to do is go to EdenPureDeals.com and use the discount code CHRIS3, C-H-R-I-S, and the number 3 to save $200 on the Eden Pure Thunderstorm 3-pack. That's EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code is Chris3. All right, I've got a lot more. And crime in Chicago. The Democrats are fighting for more crime, but why? Yes, the Philadelphia Eagles getting the NFL off to a high-class start last night. Got that coming up. Chicago, where they're fighting for crime because they're Democrats. And before we get to those amazing stories, Chicago compared to Iraq. I have that coming up. You know, Shirakistan. Let's go to the telephones. Let's go to Scott, listening on KINA Radio in Kansas. Scott, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, Chris, how are you?
I'm great, Scott. What do you say? What do you know? How's life in the American heartland?
Oh, it's fantastic. The weather's perfect, and I got to give you credit yesterday on the Bugs Bunny J.B. Pritzker thing, circumference.
Yeah, you bet.
Yeah, I also got to give you missed one, sirloin of beef.
Oh, yeah, sure. I know sirloin of beef as well. Right. That's yeah, but he's definitely circumference.
Yeah, he is. But, yeah, in Denver, there was a motorcycle accident, and a guy died. And there was 3 deaths at that corner you were talking about.
Uh-huh.
And, yeah, all 3 were COVID.
Because of a motorcycle crash, and they scored them because the blood tested positive for COVID, so they chalked up the deaths to COVID. So the numbers are skewed. Yeah. Is that what you're saying?
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And lastly, I heard a stat, and you and I are about the same age, and I remember getting 4 vaccines when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And they're talking now, by the time you're 18, you're supposed to get 76 or 78.
Well, I whatever the numbers are, and I don't have kids. I'm signing the cross right now, so I don't have to deal with all that stuff. But I got to tell you, it's time we took a look at all of this stuff, took inventory, and checked in on this.